Sorry about that. Cutting off Caruso a little bit. I did not mean to get that to play like that. Sorry, Caruso. You're going to have to step aside for Giacomo Lori Volpi. But we'll get to that in a second. The reason we're here today, after all, is to read Hints on Singing by Manuel Garcia. And I'm Mr. Opera. You're here either on the Mr. Opera channel, or you're perhaps here on the This is Opera channel. If you're on Mr. Opera, then there's a live chat. You can participate there. And if you're on This is Opera, you guys get your own live chat, and everything should pop up whenever there's any kind of comment or anything that you got to say. There's a little bit of rude commentary coming from behind me. I'm gonna be I'm watching a little wee dog who's making the cat very unhappy. So those of you that have been sending cat support, I apologize for this week. And if you hear some impatient noises here and there, don't worry, the dog's just fine, and the cat is not just fine. Anyway, so anyway, up first we're gonna have some user requests, and I think Lauri Volpi is gonna be, that's one of the more interesting things that we've listened to on the channel. Because in terms of the whole, the density wars, I guess, the whole chest release, are we singing on just one principle, or are different people doing different things? And a lot of people will use, I guess, Lauri Volpi as a model for how to do it, but then they also use singers like Corelli or Delmonico as a model for how to do it, or Pavarotti, or they love Caruso and they love Gigli, and they say there's just one principle there, and what if there's different principles going on? What if there's different vocal coordinations going on? Something more than just physical differences between different singers, and singers essentially doing the same thing but getting different results because they have different physiology, etc., etc. So let's see if I can get my volume adjusted here. Second. No, we've got Corelli here, I think. We wanted Giacomo. Okay. So this is just audio. Let me see if I can get my levels right here. You guys let me know if you hear some clipping. Hey, Peter Medic Malashek. Ahoy. Oh, let's see. So it's really interesting how he manages to bring up a fair amount of weight. It's not as much weight as Corelli or Delmonico as far as like how much density, etc. but the metal is quite a bit. It's quite high, I think. Let's hear this. And then the distortion exaggerates it, but that's really, what is the vocal coordination? So he's got the rounding that Caruso would recommend. It's a little bit, it's really hard. Let's keep listening, because it's hard to sort out if there's a lot of metal in the sound, or if there's just a lot of distortion on the recording. It does kind of imply that he was a lot louder than you would expect at the top, based on the how the bottom was sung. And it's just great. Now there's a lot of what I like to listen to, especially when I hear recordings from this era, is these little orchestral interludes, especially if it's solo. And I listen for, is there a lot of distortion on that sound? And if there's a lot of distortion on that, then, well, let's hear. If there's a lot of distortion on what the orchestra is playing, then it helps me sort out if a lot of what I'm hearing on the singer is just distortion, or if it's metal. So this is probably not as metallic as it seems from the recording, if that makes any sense. It could also be that the microphone is a little bit close to the orchestra, because here he was covered by this orchestra sound, and that seems to be probably more to do with the relative location of the instrument relative to the singer and the microphone. Yeah, it's a much lighter sound, I would say. I'll be right back, guys. All right, so I'm not sure how long the quiet will last here. House guests, you know. Yeah, so the I think the distortion adds some kind of, shall we say, masculinity to the sound that might have been kind of missing when it was live relative to this, because it makes the strings sound metallic in these little solos. So I would say like it's less density than Corelli, etc., but metallic, and probably like reduced density edge a lot of the time. So that more nasty kind of sound, that it's that lighter of the two, between edge and overdrive. But I think it's not just the distortion though. There is something about his singing that's really doing a good job at combining these different qualities. And I think it's making him able to do this kind of repertoire better than, say, I don't know, Corelli would not be sounding this good in this music. Pavarotti, I think, would sound a little bit lighter in person than this. But I guess Pavarotti could pull that off a little bit better. I think the way that he can crescendo on the note is what I think that kind of implies to me that there's not a lot of curbing going on, because like in curbing you're kind of on or off. I think it tends to be like, well, you can sing, I guess, quieter in curbing, but maybe not quieter than with edge. But it doesn't have that potential for getting fuller density. You're curbing. So I don't know which. Let's see. On E flat. Let me take away the. 1 second. I'm gonna give myself. I have my MIDI keyboard busy doing things, so I gotta find where your E flat is. 1 second here. All right. Let's see. What are you looking? What did you want to know about this? On E flat, it's a little bit back. There we go. this is the zone where you can start turning it over, basically, and you can do it early in this area. You can go towards, I think, what Ingo Tizzo was calling this second type of nonlinear interaction, where you're in the zone where the formants start to get close to the harmonics, so you can basically tune them. You can tune the formant to a harmonic. And if I'm not mistaken, this is where you get into F2H3. But he's doing the kind of shaping of it early. And you can do that at E flat. So let's see. Yeah, so if you take Garcia's guide about when you would have to cover, or like when you would have to darken, etc. And if you take what tenors normally notice from being in neutral, is that some instability happens around F4. Getting past F4 is weird. And then you can start, there's something you can do by G4 that will get you past that weirdness. It'll even out that weirdness. And it's kind of like regardless of what coordination overall that you're using. So there's a change you can do that tenors all have to figure out, where you go from more like speaking to more like tuning a formant to a specific harmonic. So more in the direction of what sopranos do, I guess. And if you're combining that with metal, you have both things making the sound stronger, etc., etc. So there's this change that you can make, but there's no rule that says you have to wait until it's necessary to make the change. Even though it's not necessary to make it at E flat 4, or even at F4, you could wait till G. But you can make your changes as early, I think, as even maybe D, but definitely E flat 4. And I think that's what he's doing. You could say covering early or turning over early, whatever, and it mellows the sound. It tames the sound. And then I would say the other effect is that the transition from having a more open vowel, if you will, to a more closed, if you will, version of the vowel becomes less abrupt, because you're doing it, you're starting to make the change early. And you're also keeping those changes away from areas where you don't have a choice. Because if you're at the area where you don't have a choice, then things are going to get more difficult. And you have to be more precise about remembering. And if you're a little bit late about remembering, you're gonna wipe out. You're gonna experience instability that's due to the same interaction that would otherwise be helping you. So basically, I think what he's doing is he's preparing that early. So there's no direct acoustic reason, like on the E flat, that he actually needs that. But as a matter of sleight of hand, I guess, of hiding what's going to happen, then he can use it. I don't know. You know what would be a really good comparison with him is what is it? De Lucia, Fernando de Lucia, because I think that's like the vein. Then this is this. It's a fake pew. He's not singing pew. It's more like pew. Pew. Oh, ew, 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 pew, pew. If you think about like a peanut being between the tongue and the pharynx, I guess, and making this kind of ew, 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 kind of sound, you can do that, and it's a great way to fake an ooh sound, and it works with this. I think it's the edge vocal mode, which I think I think that's what is going on. He's favoring edge and changes in density, and he's not so much using overdrive. So if I had to imagine his posture, he's going to be more in the quote unquote noble posture. And yeah, and if we look at Corelli, which we will, but it's early Corelli, so I don't know. But the Corelli I'm thinking of, he changes between flexion and slight extension with the upper back. So he's got both. And then Del Monaco, I guess we're more favoring flexion. So let's look at this Corelli. La Forza. So this setup is more. This is more in the flexion direction. So you'd say more in the overdrive direction. The mouth is not so open because we're not going for a big volume at this point. Oops. I guess we don't need a lot of background music for this. Okay. And that's also a good example, I think, of the sound winds up sounding less metallic, I think, than it is, because of the mouth being a little bit more closed. But then it's a cool effect when it opens that there it is. I love that, and that's more in the overdrive direction. And that's, I don't know if you would call that a vowel modification. It's almost like a substitution. It's like morte. It's like not even an Italian vowel. Yeah, the difference between him and Volpe, Lauri Volpe, is super interesting, and there's correspondence between them where Lauri Volpe is like, I don't know. I'm a little sensitive, I guess, but I detect some envy. I detect some of Lowry Volpe's a little bit intimidated by Corelli and trying to overcompensate and trying to put Corelli in his place a little bit. But I think Corelli's better. Yeah, I know they studied together. Yeah, but I see this weird dynamic. It would be good to see more of their correspondence. Maybe we can read that when we're done with Garcia. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. We should look at that stuff because he's an interesting character. This Lowry Volpe, quite let's say interesting, rather narcissistic traits, grandiose narcissistic traits. But, no, that's more the in the direction of using u and instead of e. So because you can't have a metallic true e. So you gotta decide if you're gonna go more towards like or and that's probably going to line up again with this overdrive edge thing, which can be I wonder, if there's more to it. Maybe there's more modes than that or something, because they can sound awfully similar. But I tend to look at his back, etc. That's not going to be, shall we say, opera edge, but it can be opera overdrive, I guess. And then some of the tones do wind up being edge for some reason. I don't know how that works. Let's keep going here. Maybe there's some curbing things. Opera drive. That's what we're gonna call it, opera drive. No, nothing extreme. No extreme mouth openings. But then it's not extreme emotions, and it's not supposed to be extremely loud. That sounds rather edgy. Could be overdrive, I guess, but it's awfully metallic, and that's a really good example of if you're trying to figure out what metal sounds like. He's basically using it all the time, but there's some neutral here and there, because he also sings decrescendos and winds up, getting quiet and stuff, and it's not like a constant thing how much you have, but this is a lot of it in this phrase. Just one more time. It's like you can just memorize that, and it helps also that it doesn't do a whole lot of rounding here. Nice. And then no that was neutral, I think. Let's hear it. No. the onset was metallic, I think. And then neutral for the last but you don't notice any huge thing happening, I think, because it's just rather natural consequence of getting quieter. Yeah. These phrases like this are. Let's hear again. The mouth barely moves. The mouth opening. It's kept rather constant. So it makes me figure if you could take a look at the larynx, it's probably bobbing up and down a bit on this kind of coordination. And there's some of that on the endings. There's so, there's like, you can talk about one thing that he's known for or whatever, but there's a million things, I guess. And yeah, the sensitivity is one of them. Yeah, and definitely when we're talking, Corelli, fuller density, metallic, blah blah blah. Yeah, but also neutral, and also falsetto here and there, and it's all just effective. Now the spine gets more extended. And the sound goes, this is, I think, more into the edgy direction. And it's hard to see here. But I think he's doing the Pavarotti face with the lips pulled down. It's hard to see, but I swear, I could swear I see it. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so it's not extreme, but it's there. Yeah, and there's some high larynx. There's Franco Corelli singing with his larynx high. You can see it come up. You can see the shadow of it. High larynx, neutral, breathy, and with the lips coming off the teeth to get some length in the vocal tract. So his upper lip and lower lip often covers the teeth when he sings high, and a lot of times the jaw opening is really huge, and he's still covering the lips, and it has the effect of like kind of reminds me of a guy who lost all of his teeth. And it's really cool. And it always sounds awesome when he's doing that. So this position isn't something you're gonna see. This particular position, you're not gonna see that with a big heroic high note, etc., etc. This is a really lengthened vocal tract, and he's lengthening it from the lips. And that's even one of the things that Garcia says not to do. But of course, general rules versus little exceptions like this. The mouth size goes with the volume. Quiet singing, neutral singing, etc., like that. You can do it with this small mouth. So now we get louder, so mouth openings gotta get bigger. But looks like he's sort of limiting it a little bit, so you got some rounding, and that gets you a slightly more manageable sound, I guess. Softer, mellower sound, but it's not as powerful as what he's doing later. It's not as loud, basically. It's like more. It's what's weird is that young Pavarotti is more similar to Corelli than and young Corelli is more similar to Pavarotti. Like the main I know it doesn't make any sense, but the main Pavarotti that I think about, what I think about is like Pavarotti isms, typical Pavarotti stuff. That's all quite different if you watch like the Moscow recital, etc. When I watch the Moscow recital, I think, oh, that reminds me of what I think of as typical Corelli isms. But then here he's doing some things I think of as typical Pavarotti. It's interesting. That's Edge, I think. And both you can change the sound color without changing the mode, according to the complete vocal technique people. Yeah. So I would say that Corelli and Pavarotti do sing in a similar way, I guess, here at this point. But I think later on, Pavarotti isn't doing these changes in like from overdrive to edge kind of thing. He's more of like staying in one position, because I think he's like too big to be moving around like that. I wish we could see that a little bit better. Jessica, jeez. It's the way, because we get two vowels here. It's interesting. I can see Garcia like we're making him roll over in his grave repeatedly by rewinding this and hearing it again. Because these scoops, but I think this is a great example of what I call is like functional scoops. The scoops don't bother me anyway. Maybe they bother someone else. Lauri Volpe, I think, would be bothered by the scoops. But I think they would especially bother him because if Lauri Volpe scooped like this, it wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't sound good. But this sounds good. And I think it's because the scooping is a result of how he's actually getting the pitch to happen, the frequency to happen, is more muscular than what Lauri Volpe is doing. And it's more relying on pressure and resisting stretch, so that it makes a lot of sense to scoop up to the pitch. And it sounds satisfying when he does. So three scoops, but then that gives us 3 awesome notes and 3 awesome vowels. Just awesome. Now we're in the ooh instead of eh. And that's more mellow, I guess. So overdrive is more mellow than upper edge. Damn. And there, the mouth opening tracks with the pitch. Once you get into that mode, you can't get away from the acoustics. Not the mode, but in that range, the formant is tuning to the harmonic. So if you don't keep things in proportion, and something like the mouth opening, for instance, if you're keeping what the mouth opening does to the resonance constant and you're raising the pitch, that means you're going to have to open the mouth. You're going to have to progressively make the mouth opening larger. So let's watch that. So it's perhaps subtle, maybe hard to notice, but if you're not doing this, watch one more time. One more time. Right? If you're not doing that, your other option is to jump to a different harmonic that you're going to be reinforcing, I guess, that you're going to be tuning to, or something like that. And then actually the mouth opening might get smaller, or you might go into kind of a smile shape instead of doing this. And it's not wrong, and this isn't wrong, but it's just like, if you want this effect, that's what you gotta do. And I guess this effect would be I don't know what this effect is. Chest release? I think This Is Opera would call it chest release. And there's so when the jaw is like this, it's basically forcing the larynx down. The jaw is part of what's doing that, but also the larynx is actually starting to contribute to jaw opening, or not even starting. So what gets overlooked sometimes, I think, is that the mylohyoids that help you open and spread your jaw like this connect to the hyoid. So you're pulling that bone that sits on top of your larynx is also for opening your jaw, for helping to pull the jaw open. So you never see a baby do this. That they can't. They don't have the hyoid bone. Like it's not there yet. Like a 3-year-old, I think, has it. Then the larynx starts bouncing when he, especially when the jaw opening gets smaller. There's nothing keeping the hyoid in place. No, there is. That's just neutral with a little bit of air, I guess. Edge. Pretty sure that's edge. And that's Pavarotti face. That's really, really very, very, very Pavarotti. See that again. I wish I should have some. And again, you've got to track the pitch with the mouth opening, and it's a function of math. Like how big are actual waves? You can't get away from the actual measurement of sound waves and what the wavelength actually is. And the changing wavelength is what is changing things like how open the mouth would have to be. And it's also interesting that when you're making that change, if you're progressively opening the mouth as you raise the pitch, you're not just expanding area of interest number 2, as I call it, the opening of the mouth. You're shortening area of interest number 1, the overall length of the vocal tract. So you're raising resonances in a couple of ways. Nice. And that's more in the overdrive direction? What makes this different from someone doing this in a rock piece is mostly the position of the larynx. That's all in neutral. It's more in the edge direction. And I think it's kind of telltale that he wants to finish by actually extending the spine. I don't think it's just being a showman. It's like it's a relief to like finally just like let the shoulders go back in this position and let the spine extend like this. Yeah, Paul, the head angle can be with the spine or against the spine, or like with the shoulders or against the shoulders. It's an interesting thing to watch. But if you look at, it's like this position that he's in right now doesn't go with like a big sound. Doesn't go with that strong edge sound, because you have the scapula being retracted, but then you also have the spine being extended at the same time. And then when he's making a big sound, he could have the scapula retracted like this, but not with the extension in the spine. It would go with flexion in the spine. And he can have the extension in the spine like this, but not with the scapular retraction. It would go more with pushing the chest forward. And then you can combine that with different head rotation, and you're actually changing the shape, the internal shaping. But even more so, you're contributing to whether or not you're going to get the narrowing in area of interest number 3, so that epilaryngeal narrowing. You're going to change the nature of it, the nature and shape of it, and position of it, etc., and you can even use head positioning to help articulate without messing up some of your other positioning that you don't want to mess up. It's really, he's another super intelligent singer, I would say. I'm not sure if the other way we were looking at is, or just listening to, is as intelligent. I guess it's a stupid way to think about things. All right, so what do you think? Should we listen to more? I've got more examples that got sent in. Well, I guess we should look at those because they're directly related to some of the things that we were talking about. So we had next up, hopefully. Let's see if this works. Okay. Yeah. So this is gonna be Domingo doing an impromptu performance, but this is supposed to be maybe the detrimental effects of piano study. So I'm not. Let's see what this is. So, first, let's see. I got some comments here. Yeah. What I think Corelli has a greater feel for the drama as well, but I mean he's my favorite tenor, favorite singer, probably. But I think I'm not sure that Lauri Volpi would agree that he didn't care about words or that he was just singing. I think probably he was working hard at singing. I think the thing is that the vocal coordinations he's using are more in the on or off direction. There's more room for expression with what he's doing when you're singing higher. But I think especially in the middle and in the low part of the voice, it's not as expressive. And then by the time you made it more expressive in the low and middle, you're singing the low and middle more like Corelli. And when you're singing the low and middle more like Corelli, it's not going to go well with singing the top like Larry Volpe. That would wind up sounding like you chickened out or something when you went to the top. So I think it's more like I think it's more just that what Corelli's doing is more expressive, and what Larry Volpe's doing is maybe more efficient. It's more he's not working as hard, and yet it's quite expressive. So maybe something like that. I don't know. Let's watch this. All right. It's gonna be. They're gonna ask him to. Now, I'm not sure why exactly this is supposed to show the dangers of piano, but I'm gonna play along here. Sounds pretty good. He sounds okay. So I think so far for Garcia, he's 0 for 1. Okay, and I think the other thing about maybe Garcia didn't mean singing while you're at the piano. Because the thing that I noticed about that is a lot of people are known for singing and playing the piano at the same time really well. It seems like a good like it's a good combo, even just for singing. And I wonder if there's just like the fact that you have support from this. Essentially, it's a table in front of you. The fact that you have this support for your shoulders is a good thing for singing. But maybe that's different from what Garcia is saying, because he doesn't sound like he's concert pianist or anything. Doesn't sound like he's practicing piano 5 hours a day. So I don't know. Let's look at the next example. Because Domingo's people are probably going to come after me now and try to take my channel. Okay. Oh my. It's going to be loud. Oh. Well, after all that, I was expecting, I don't know, there was a lot of fire. So. Oh. And this was supposed to be... So this is Gustavo Lopez Manciti. And... so the person who sent it in... Well, I don't know if he's here. It was Tiber. So Tiber thinks this could maybe... perhaps be an example of singing in fuller density and fuller density metallic with kyphosis. So kyphosis, if you're not familiar with what that is, that just means anytime your back is flexed as opposed to extended, basically. So when you're let's say your upper back is rounded, that's kyphosis, and then when it's extended, when it's more noble, that's, I guess, lordosis. So anyway, flexion, extension, kyphosis, maybe lordosis. I don't know, something like that. So, and well, I don't know why this. So, I don't know what the relationship would be between kyphosis and singing fuller density and metallic. Certainly, you can do that. That was the top note, I think, is more in the fuller density metallic direction, maybe more like overdrive direction. There's kyphotic. It's a more kyphotic upper back, I think, so more flexion that goes with the things we were talking about so far. This down here, that is not fuller density or metallic, I don't think. That's maybe it is metallic, but it's more reduced density with the nose open, which is typical for this kind of. So that's, I call that nasal, but when I say nasal, I just mean the velum. The velum is open. So if the velum is at all open, it's. I mean, I call it nasal. But most people mean something else. Most people mean, when they mean nasal, they have a subjective, like these kinds of sounds. So they would consider this nasal, but they wouldn't consider this to be nasal. But I'm using tons of nasal sounds, and I have been, as I talk to you for this whole live stream. So yeah, you could say more speech-like, I guess, but to me it's distinct that these sounds use an open velum, and then he closes it and gets, I would say, more metallic and more fuller density, and opens his mouth a whole lot as he goes higher. And that was interesting there. That we have two very distinct things going on with this bigger mouth position and then going down in pitch, and a completely different position, different sound. And I think opening the nose again. So as you go down, you open the nose, and then up, you close it for this kind of approach. And this, I think, if we're placing it, on the spectrum, I guess, on the on the Volpi-Corelli spectrum, this is more, I would say, in the Volpi direction. Though maybe beefing up the top a bit more. And well, that must be the... I don't think he's getting a text. I think that's actually the text. So he is getting the text. A text. He's getting a text and singing it. So that's that. So using the nose on and off to help make the phrasing, and that's a very common thing. I don't think we were hearing Lowry Volpe do that. Don't get me wrong. I just meant as far as the whole density thing. Okay, so I mean that's that. Sounds great. That was Gustavo Lopez Manciti. And then this next thing that we had.
In einem meiner letzten Videos habe ich 5 Instrumente aus dem 3D-Drucker getestet und die meisten, die liefen echt gut.
This is about This is about different mouthpieces. I'm gonna go to 330. This helps us. This is gonna help us learn about. Let me see here. I'm gonna go to 330. This is going to help us learn about epilaryngeal narrowing, hopefully. So let's see. I haven't had a chance to watch. I was working on some stuff. Oops. Let's see here. Yep.
Ja,
Ob ich das
das
jetzt
geht schon ein bisschen
raushöre?
ab.
Höre ich das raus?
Schau her.
So I was trying different mouthpieces.
Anderer Sound. Das ist halt so ein bisschen mehr Peng. Wenn du mit einer Band spielst, wo viel Lautstärke ist, wo du lange spielen musst, wo du viel hoch spielen musst.
So showing the different the effects of the different mouthpieces, and mouthpieces work a lot like epilaryngeal narrow. They work like area of interest number 3, because they are area of interest number 3 on a trumpet. On a trumpet, that's exactly, the areas of interest are the same on trumpets and the voice. You don't have access to area of interest number 4 or area of interest number 5, so it's kind of irrelevant. But if you did, like if you were a trumpet repairman, for instance, you might have some reason to care about that. Like, so, because if you damage the instrument and you wind up narrowing it or somehow expanding it near area of interest number 4 or number 5, you would have the same effect on the resonances of the trumpet that you do on the voice. Anyway, so this Liedmundstück is more narrow, according to the guy here, and we can hear again the different.
Höre ich das raus?
Schau her. Ja.
Different. Let's see.
Aber es ist heller. Das
Different mouthpieces.
Raus. Ja, aber hey, gut.
Aber je nachdem, welches Mundstück du hast, ist es auch unterschiedlich schwer, weil du wolltest mir jetzt vorhin ein anderes fast schon, André.
Nein, Ich zeig's dir. Das ist ein bisschen flacher, ein bisschen enger. Das ist das, was man ein Liedmundstück nennt.
Das ist auch echt lauter.
Let's go. We should hear the first one. So he said that's more narrow. Ein bisschen enger.
Fest.
Ja.
Und wenn du das verbindest, ist schon gut. Mach mal. Gar nicht schlecht. Der Mann ist talentiert. Ja. Ich kann spucken, was ich kann schon Posaune spielen. Fest.
Ja.
Schau her. Schau.
Warte.
Da kommt was raus. Ja, ja, aber hey, gut.
330.
Nee, das ist heller.
Okay.
Okay.
Ja. Ja,
Ob ich das
das
jetzt
geht schon ein bisschen
raushöre?
ab.
So
Hör ich
here's
das raus?
a more narrow
her.
one. And a less narrow.
Anderer Sound.
So you hear basically that the more narrow one has more twang, I guess. It's the same as twang in the voice. Hey T-Bear, and yeah, if you want to be good at playing the piano and singing, you have to play a lot. But I think also they can go well together, I think. But I'm not sure Garcia meant, playing the piano and singing. I don't think that's what he was talking about. I think he was talking about just playing the piano. So yeah, because I think you have to actually get good at playing and singing. You have to do a lot of playing and singing, and a lot of singers play for themselves. I kind of wish I could. So here we go. Next up, we have. Well, it's an entire concert of Pavarotti. So we have, but we have his Pagliacci at 139. So let's see here. Try to move it along. Okay. So this should be much twangier than the Corelli we were. Back it up a little bit. Okay. Should I make it bigger? There we go. So there's still, I think, interesting. So he's still using the same combinations, I guess, as Corelli. There's just more, I would say, more distinct twang where he he allows more of this kind of sound, more of that into the sound, and a certain amount of it is necessary in the first place and comes from epilaryngeal narrowing, and you need it just to have the metal in the first place. But then you can have more than that, and it's just distinct twang, as they call it. And I think he uses a lot more distinct twang than Corelli does. Where Corelli would have picked maybe an U kind of thing, Pavarotti isn't going to be using that. Yeah, the way they handle E is really distinct, I think. Yeah. If we could... Maybe I'll make it bigger here. So the lips... He's involving the lips and taking the lips off of the teeth. And we're not seeing Corelli do that. We're seeing Corelli do a more like or kind of thing. Damn. That was interesting. We don't really hear the crescendo so much. Or the development of the note. But you can see his mouth. His mouth is in motion for the high note. So if we're hearing things stay rather consistent, it means internally there's got to be motion that is proportional to that. The way he turns the corner emotionally is... Just gotta see that again. The effect is... Hup. So when he's doing his soft singing, I don't hear the rounding so much that Corelli has. I think that's a big difference here. Yeah, Paul, those open vowels, I think Corelli's using them too, but I think you're right. Yeah, and so E doesn't go to the more kind of closed kind of idea. He does a kind of E. Ba. La Ju, Corelli would give you La Ju Ba kind of thing. And Pavarotti's giving you Ju Ba 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 Ba. He's even kind of developing that vowel. It's more than one sound during the vowel. It's not a diphthong, but it's different versions of itself. Bua. It's like bua. It's not just it's bua. Bua. That E winds up coming out neutral because of his strategy for doing that. And that, I think, comes off lighter than what Corelli does. And trailing off like that into breathy neutral is not something we'd hear from Corelli. And that's interesting, that cutoff, because then if you think about what's going on is as he takes the breath, it looks unnecessary, but he's wedging the larynx down, the hyoid down with the jaw. With this, Well, I guess the theme with Pavarotti is efficiency, but efficiency in the sense of like he's always setting up his next move with the end of the previous move. So if it's going to be something where you need the larynx really diving down, the hyoid diving down, and there's a moment before when you can do that, he finds, like, he works it in, and he weaves it into the acting, everything. Then that's more covered. So he doesn't go, the at the top is not as covered as what the way he's singing the bottom would imply is going to happen. He's getting more open, suddenly covered. So the first will be, it's like darker. The next one is, they're like brighter, even though he's raising the pitch. But then suddenly he follows Garcia's rules and goes darker. But then covered. Yeah, so it's almost like he covers, opens, and then covers again. Anyway, I guess we should get to some Manuel Garcia here. I guess at some point we have to do the actual homework. And I might just read some of this, and then we'll go on our way, because somebody needs the room at 5 o'clock. So let me see here. Where were we? We were reading about the study of exercises by all voices. I'm just gonna take this away. Oops. Oh, by the way, Tibert, I got a surprise for you. Hi. I hope you were watching. I'll be using that in the future a little bit more, obviously. Okay. The study of exercises by all voices. In what manner should exercises be studied? Answer. The student must sing each measured exercise strictly in time, but at first slowly enough to give each individual note all the requisites already mentioned, viz. Intonation, value, strength, legato, timbre. Question. When ought the rapidity to be increased? Answer. As soon and as fast as these qualities can be maintained, but not sooner. What degree of rapidity ought to be arrived at? As nearly as possible to quarter note equals 132. I think that's quaver or whatever. Have you any more recommendations to offer as to the study of exercises? There are some intonations that demand a greater attention than the others. 1 second. The third and seventh degrees of the major scale are often flat, more particularly in descending, the augmented fourth and the perfect fifth in arpeggios. All the dissonances and chromatic intervals also require special care. Must the pupils sing the exercises only in the key of C? They may be transposed into as many keys as the extent of the voice will conveniently permit. The pupil must curtail or suppress those which exceed that extent. All right, so let's just look at this real quick, and then I guess we're now using Garcia as an excuse to watch videos, to watch opera videos together. This to me is like, I mean, basic exercises to do. Basic instructions to do these flexibility exercises. And it looks like he's recommending good intonation, but then he's throwing in this like this idea that the third and seventh degrees of the major scale are often flat, as if, you know, other things are not often gonna be, anything can be flat. But just kind of to put something here that makes it sound like an expert is talking, I guess. So this is some of the Garcia the master, the master show. So, I mean, I guess that's that. I don't really feel like talking about Garcia as much today. More Pavarotti? No. Yeah, I guess that's where we're gonna leave it today. The videos piqued my interest, and now Garcia is like not as interesting. And I do have this guy though, fire Uncle Iro. So I guess that's all for today, and I'll see you guys next time on Mr. Opera. I'm trying to get in before. Oh. The tenor starts accompanying himself in Di Quella Pira. We gotta go watch it now. What was his name again? Gustavo Lopez Manciti. You didn't tell me that. Okay.
In einem meiner letzten Videos.
Well, we can watch the Pavarotti. We can watch more of the Pavarotti another day. But I want to see Quentin Tarantino. Oh yeah. Okay. 1 second. Give myself a little. Oh, okay. I didn't understand this beginning. Now I think I get it. Okay. Oh, listen to what's in the background. So let's see where he's not at the piano yet. Okay, now he's at okay. I agree, that's fuller density and metallic. Stop. That's what she said to Bear. Yeah, Yeah, okay. So definitely... I think he reduces a bit there compared to like let's say Corelli. I think that's coming off the density quite a bit. And you do, you know, you would see more involvement from the rib cage, I think, in order to maintain the density going up. And probably the mouth opening would be more tracking, so getting bigger with going higher. And it's getting bigger, I guess, but not... Oh, it's getting bigger. I don't think it's the best example because there's not that many options for this pitch other than you have to kind of reduce the density. But I think he's kind of launching himself off the piano. I don't know. Sounds pretty good though, I think. You know, Verdi didn't write this high C here. I don't think it made too much sense. And that's what he wanted, was Iro going fire. Anyway. Okay, I'm getting a little bit silly with my oh, and by the way, I tried to rig this up so like if I push it, like if I press the button harder, then it'll be louder. So and then like a nice quiet fire. Anyway, so I'm working on my little Iro gag there. I know some people requested specifically to bring that back. Anyway, yeah, so let's see. I guess we're just gonna end here. I don't have time to finish the Pavarotti. Sorry. But next time we'll listen to another track from this Pavarotti, I guess. And so we're going to read all of Garcia at some point and watch this whole Pavarotti recital. The worst things could happen. Okay, so I guess everyone have a good evening. Thanks for joining us, Paul. Thanks for joining us, Tiber. And you can have a climax without me in the privacy of your own home.